Hello, welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Rosie and I am a speech and language therapist working in the SLT Ealing team. In this video, we are going to be sharing strategies and ideas to support secondary age students with speech, language and communication needs in the classroom. This video may be useful for any teachers or staff working in mainstream secondary schools who have students with any kind of speech, language or communication needs in their classes. Parents of students with SLCN may also find this useful to watch to find out what strategies and ideas may help your child in school. We are going to cover 5 areas for you to think about when supporting students with SLCN in your classroom. The first tip is to make it visual. Use visuals wherever you can in your lessons to support students' understanding. Use anything and everything to help them to have a better understanding of what is going on in the lesson. For example, you could use gestures or movements to represent a concept. For example, if you are introducing a new word, you could add a gesture or movement to represent that word, like multiply. Show the student physical items to bring the learning to life. Touching, looking, smelling, listening to something will support the student to have a greater understanding of a new concept. Lastly, you could show the student photographs or diagrams of what you are talking about, and then leave them on the screen or the student's desk for them to refer back to. The second tip is all about supporting students' understanding of instructions. As teaching staff, you give students instructions all the time, and we want to make sure that they have understood them. And here are our top tips to support that. Make sure you keep the words and instructions that you use direct and literal. We want to try and avoid metaphors, sarcasm, or abstract concepts. An easy one to change is think about when you use before and after when you are giving instructions. For example, you might say, before you get your books out, you can get a ruler, please. That is a very confusing instruction because it is in the incorrect order. So you can easily change it to get a ruler, then get your books out. Another thing to do is to try and chunk your instructions into smaller parts. For example, instead of finish your writing in your English book and then start the next task, then after we will all come back together. You could just say, finish your writing in your English book and then start the next task. You could write this down on the board and provide the whole plan for the lesson, but only verbally share the upcoming 1 to 2 tasks, so as not to overwhelm the students with SLCN. You can also physically demonstrate instructions wherever you can. Use pictures or write it down. Even just having the instructions written on the board can be so helpful for students with SLCN. We want you to be conscious of your own rate of talking, as talking too fast can be really hard for our students with SLCN to process. So slow down your rate of speech and use pauses to give the pupils more time to process the language. If you have given a student an instruction, you could also ask them to repeat the instructions in their own words. This will help the student to understand and process what they are doing, as well as pick up on words that they didn't remember the first time round. The third tip is to encourage positive learning environments for students in your classroom. Try and ensure that you have a whole class positive, asking for help culture in your classroom. Think about how students ask for help and what happens when they do. We want to remind students that not everyone understands everything, and this is okay. Modeling positive interactions and language while you're teaching is also a great way of creating a positive environment, as it will encourage others to do the same. For example, if there is a difference of opinion or answer provided, model empathy and curiosity with how you respond. For example, I haven't thought of it that way before. Can you tell me more? Or, wow, this looks challenging. Let's go through it together. Being calm and self-assured in your own communication style can have a knock-on effect to others around you. People feed off others' emotions, so by remaining calm and confident in potentially frustrating situations can help to diffuse negative feelings. Our fourth tip is to explicitly teach new vocabulary or concepts. Students need to hear a word at least 12 times in order to learn it. When vocabulary is explicitly taught, they can make 3 times more academic progress. Therefore, you need to be explicit when you are teaching new concepts. Make sure you highlight new words in your lessons and make students aware that these words are new and they're important. Regularly recap and revise new words that have been taught. Here are some ideas for games or ways that you can review new words that you've learnt. You could use these as a starter activity or within your main lesson. So one idea is to have a word of the lesson. So for example, in science, this might be osmosis. And you work on using that word as many times as you can within the lesson. You can also think about how many words you know about osmosis or the word that you are learning. You can play odd one out games, so listing 4 words and one is the odd one out. You can get the students to guess what word you are describing, or guess what word other students in the class are describing. And you can provide the students with opportunities to hear other people's ideas and descriptions of words that they have learnt. The final and 5th tip is to build the students' confidence and self-esteem. We know that the evidence shows that older students with SLCN perceive themselves more negatively in terms of competence at school and social acceptance. Low levels of self-esteem and self-confidence can have a huge impact on a student's perception of themselves, as well as their future lives and development. Therefore, building students' confidence and self-esteem is so important to their success in school and life. We want you to be positive about mistakes made in the classroom because mistakes are how we all learn. Perhaps you can make a mistake so the student has to correct you. Praise the student to let them know what they have done well. It's really important to make sure that you are specific in your praise so they know exactly what they have done well. For example, well done for using connectives in your work, or well done for using gesture to help me understand you. If the student is struggling to answer a question, do not ask somebody else. Instead, scaffold the question to support that student to answer. You can also think about how you can praise the student. Instead of comparing their work to others, compare the student's work with their own previous work and point out their improvements. Give the class jobs to increase opportunities to participate, for example, handing out books or taking a note for you. And break down tasks into achievable, manageable steps. You could put these steps on the board, as this will help the student to remember too. That's all for today. Today, we talked about our top tips and ideas to support secondary age students with speech, language, and communication needs in the classroom. If you have any questions and you live or work in Ealing, you can contact us via our advice line. Scroll down and you will find our contact details underneath this video. Thanks. Bye.